Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm making another video for you guys. This one's a little bit different than the last ones. It's still story time, but it's more, well, my last ones were just my voice along with some photos. I wanted to try to sit in front of a camera with you guys and read you a story and see how it goes. So this one is from this is also from Reddit, sorry. The no sleep tag as well, like my last two videos. This one is by a user by the name of Mr. Outlaw, and it's titled, I'm a night security guard, and I just watched surveillance footage of my own death. As the title states, I am an after-hours security guard for a medium-sized downtown office building. Not in a terribly dangerous city. Just average. Glamorous, I know. On top of that, I'm either losing my mind or in the midst of something really strange. A few nights ago, my boss gave me some security tapes that he wanted me to look over. Apparently the guard that I rotated shifts with had quit, but it was a bit unconventional. He didn't give anybody any prior notice. It appears as if he'd simply left in the middle of his last shift, and we haven't been able to contact him since. On the same night, there had been a break-in. Seemingly nothing stolen or damaged, just the front door, which was now shattered. Now, I knew about the break-in beforehand, but not about the guard. It was weird, but this is kind of a shitty job, so it wasn't anywhere near shocking. My boss wanted me to try and identify who had done it, and said that the cops are lazy and it would take weeks for them to even look at it. His quote, not mine. Sure, it was an annoying request, but it was on me for not finishing college. It was a pretty quiet night when I got around to it. My boss told me to look it over on my own time, but that wasn't happening. At around 2 a.m., I finally began watching. It took a lot of fast forwarding until I finally got to something. We were right. The old security guard, Chris, literally got up and left at exactly 2:17 a.m. that night. Even weirder was that he left all of his shit behind. He just walked away. Okay, I thought, shit happens, whatever. I kept watching until the break-in at 3 a.m. Some medium-built dude dressed in a stereotypical burglar outfit, ski mask included, took a baseball bat and smashed through the front door. I'm pretty sure that Chris never even locked it behind him when he left, so that was a waste. Also, our alarm didn't go off because we didn't have one. It's a wonder that I still work here, given the fact that some guy could literally break in, stab me to death, and the cops wouldn't even know about it till the morning. But that's besides the current point. The intruder walked in and entered the stairwell, so I tracked him. A bit of a complicated process, but I finally found him on the 6th floor. That's when he took out what looked like a wire. I felt my skin crawl a bit upon seeing that. There's only a few reasons as to why a person would carry wires around in their pockets, and one of them stands out as being particularly unsavory. He started making his way down the corridor in a manner that I can only describe as methodical, purposeful even, as if whoever he was stalking was not yet aware of his presence. Moments later, the door to a room up ahead of him flung open. He reacted quickly, ducking into an adjacent hallway as somebody else came out. And let me tell you that I was not prepared for who it was. It was me. A near replica. I say near because the guy's face looked borderline emaciated, while his clothes barely clung to his limbs. I was more of a muscular build myself, but I'd been skinny before. I knew what I looked like, and that was it. My copy was wearing what looked like some kind of white heavy-duty jacket. Almost looked like something a soldier would wear in an Arctic climate. On top of that, there was a large streak of red covering his chest. Probably doesn't take a detective to figure out what it was, given the circumstances. He also appeared to be exhausted, with one bony hand holding the wall whilst he was doubled over, exhaling like hell. Eventually, he started moving, stumbling towards the intersecting hallways, where the mystery man was presumably waiting for him, hands clasped around the wire. I found myself instinctively reaching for my phone to call 911. when I realized that this was not happening in real time. But even if it was, how was I supposed to describe the situation? As my copy passed by, the mystery man pounced on him, but it seemed as he was anticipating it. My copy, that is. A vicious struggle ensued. Despite my copy's frail appearance, he still managed to hold the upper hand against the mystery man for a while. Let me tell you, I sure as hell can't fight like that. The combination of the military-grade jacket and the hand-to-hand training that this guy clearly practiced yielded a few possible avenues of explanation. But I was going to need a lot more of info in order to really understand what was going on here. Despite being pounded on for a good few minutes, the mystery man eventually landed a lucky uppercut that staggered my copy. He quickly took the opportunity, rushing and forcing the wire around his neck until he went limp. That struggle ended. What followed was interesting. He dragged the body back to the room that my copy had come out of and shut the door behind him. I fast-forwarded up until today. Nobody else came out. Nobody went in. There was nothing that I could do for the rest of my shift but just sit there, absolutely floored. The next day, my boss asked me what I'd seen. I told him a fabricated version of what had happened, that some dipshit high school kids en masse broke the doors for fun. Nothing we can do about it beyond installing an actual security system. He said he'd look into it. Sure he will. Now I considered just forcing myself to forget about it. That would have yielded more sanity, but some things are too bizarre to overlook. During my next shift, I decided to take a look at the 6th floor. I assumed that it'd just be a bunch of cubicles up there, but I was obviously interested in one specific room. Once up there, I started walking around. It almost felt surreal being in a place where something so strange had just happened. In fact, it got me questioning whether or not I just lost my mind for a few minutes, and if anything on that tape was even real. But I got my answer when I saw the stain on the carpet. It was barely noticeable, but I knew what I was looking for. A speck of blood from the struggle. I wasn't sure whether it was from my copy or the mystery man. I kept going down the corridor, trying to locate the room that my copy had come out of. From the footage, it was pretty evident that it had to be the 4th door on the right. I tried the handle, locked, and that I tried something that would certainly cost me my job. But I rationalized it by realizing that if anybody was ever even going to watch the tapes, it was once again going to be me. I kicked the door down and headed in. It was a conference room, but one that looked to be under renovation. There were dry paint cans, an unfinished carpet job, and drywall covering the walls, but nothing unusual. Yet, there was bound to be something here. For the first few hours that I stalked the room, I could not find anything noteworthy. The other way out of the room was a stairwell exit, so it was reasonable to assume that he simply escaped through there. I was about to give up when I stumbled upon something hidden under one of the desks. A device of sorts, maybe. Couldn't really tell you. Despite being rather small, it was incredibly heavy, a cylindrical-shaped metallic item. It was smooth all around, save for a few buttons that did nothing when I pressed them, and a dried, bloody thumbprint. Wonder who that belonged to. I stood there, trying to decipher the particulars of the item for an indistinguishable amount of time, but an abrupt noise jarred me back to attentiveness. Footsteps in the hallway. Footsteps getting closer. I was not doing my job. A few ideas regarding the identity of the intruder ran through my head. Obviously, none of them were good, and one of them was really bad. In any case, I made a beeline for the stairwell, and I took the metal thing with me. I didn't go back to the building until around 5:40 a.m., 20 minutes before the end of my shift. To my surprise, the new glass door that we'd installed was still intact, but I definitely knew that I'd heard steps out in the hallway. Maybe they found another way in. Maybe I'm just going insane. I'm still holding the device in my hand. What am I going to do with it? No fucking idea. But I do know what I'm doing next. Time to pay a visit to the old security guard. Chris has to have some kind of answer here. I never knew Chris all that well. He was a work friend at best, but I knew where he lived, and that was all the information that I needed. I went over to his place and knocked. No response at first. Didn't really know what I was expecting, in all honesty, but I stayed put in my pursuit for answers, continuously pounding on his door. I mean, wasn't it kind of peculiar that he conveniently quit on the night that the break-in took place? I must have stood outside his door for about 20 minutes. Logic would dictate that he simply wasn't home. and I was beginning to believe that, until I heard a noise on the other side. Sounded like somebody accidentally knocking over a pair of shoes. This motherfucker was silently staring at me through the peephole. "Chris, open the damn door," I said in a borderline threatening tone. Still no explicit response. He wasn't doing a great job of concealing the fact that he clearly knew something about what had happened, and then he slipped a piece of paper under the door. In messily scribbled writing, this is what it read: "Can't tell you anything. He'll know." Okay, I thought to myself, that doesn't sound good. I tried knocking for a few more minutes before his neighbors started poking their heads out. I decided to leave before somebody called the cops on me, but I was not planning on dropping this. I ran the facts through my head as I walked back home. He'll know? I didn't want to admit it, but those words greatly concerned me. Who the hell is he? I stewed on these thoughts as I made my way up to my apartment, but when I got there, I realized that I may have fucked up big time. My lock was busted and my door was half open. Call me a pussy, but I dialed 911 immediately. The cops came over in a reasonable amount of time and began the investigation. All in all, the only thing that was taken was $50 cash that I kept in my drawer. That's what they put on the official report after all. But that wasn't all to the story. There was something else that was missing. The device. In retrospect, the fact that I took it in the first place was a dumbass move on my part. No shit it was going to have some kind of tracking system in it. I didn't even know what the hell it was. This posed as a conundrum for me, of course. It was presumably the mystery man that had broken in. He knows where I live. He also tried murdering somebody who looked just like me. Safe to say, I was probably in danger. The cops said that they would station a vehicle outside my apartment complex in order to keep an eye on me for the night. I wasn't really sure how effective that was going to be, but it couldn't hurt, I suppose. But I still didn't sleep. That night, there was a knock on my door at around 2 a.m. I nearly shit my pants. But then I heard, "Police, open up," coming from the hall. I looked through the peephole, and it was indeed the two cops that had been assigned to wait outside my building. One of them chuckled when I opened the door. "How the hell'd you do that?" he said to me. "How'd I do what?" I asked in confusion. He simply scoffed, and then abruptly cuffed me. Although tired as hell, I still relentlessly questioned them about what the fuck they actually thought I did. It was only until I'd waited for half an hour in an interrogation room when a detective came in and gave me the answer. Apparently, I'd entered the building that I worked in, knocked the new night guard unconscious, and broken into one of the upper floor rooms. They also showed me the proof, security footage of exactly what they'd described happening. A person in a stereotypical burglar outfit waltzed in just as the new guard was locking the door for the night. They got into a fight. The mystery man won, but not before the guard managed to rip his ski mask off. The split seconds that displayed his exposed face yielded all the evidence that they could ever need. It was me. Again? The footage then tracked him all the way up to the 6th floor, where he entered a room. Guess which one that was? He was also carrying a bag with him the whole time, and it really wasn't a mystery regarding what was in it either. The last recorded footage caught him running out of a fire exit. I couldn't even begin to attempt to answer the detective's questions. I know I didn't do it. Well, you know what I mean. I just kept trying to analyze what kind of situation this put me in. If the mystery man that I'd first seen was also me, then that means there had to have been at least 2 copies of me out there, and they were trying to kill each other. Then the situation with Chris made more sense. Maybe one of my copies had threatened him. The answer has to be in that device. "Hello," the detective barked at me. "You listening to me, Mr. Case?" No, I wasn't. He sighed. "Look, we're just trying to figure things out. What was the plan here?" I reciprocated a sigh. I don't fucking know. The entire conversation understandably produced 0 conclusions. The detective stepped out and left me alone with my thoughts once again. But no matter how I framed the situation, it was always inexplicable, beyond my comprehension. I sat in shocked silence for about 15 minutes before the rabbit hole was dug deeper. I started hearing commotion out in the hallway, and then gunshots. The detective suddenly rushed back into the room, looking confused as hell once he saw me. "How the fuck?" is all that he managed to get out. "What's going on?" I asked him. He just shook his head before coming over and pulling me up, all while I was still in cuffs. "We gotta get you out of here." He started directing me towards a back exit while some kind of hell was going on in the background. At this point, gunshots were going off left and right. We were just about out the door when I saw a bullet go through his skull. I made it out just before him, so I didn't suffer the same fate. But I saw who had done it. It was my copy, staring blankly at me and standing at the other end of the hall. He fired a few more shots at me, but they were stopped by the door. Fueled by perplexed adrenaline, I simply started running. I wasn't really sure where I was going, so I just ducked into a nearby forested area. Once there, I hid myself in some bushes. I stayed there until sunrise, and luckily my copy never found me. I heard police sirens all night. There was bound to be a lot of explaining to do if they ever caught me. However, I'm sure they'll be just as confused as I am once they view the security tapes inside the police station. Once I'm convinced myself that the coast is clear, I got up and tried figuring out where I was. It was an excruciating process trying not to be seen by anybody, given that I still had handcuffs on, but I eventually managed to find my way. I went to somebody who I knew could help me out in this situation, my friend Jack. Now, Jack was a drug dealer, and before you judge me for being friends with a dealer, let me preface it by saying that he only sold weed and cocaine, and he's never killed anybody before. I'm pretty sure of that. It was about a 3-hour walk from the city to his farmhouse, but I eventually made it, finally getting the damn cuffs off in the process. He asked questions, of course, questions that I could not answer. Right after shoveling some food down my throat and smoking a joint to calm me down, I went on the internet and looked for any news coverage about the incident. I can't estimate how many cops were killed, but it seemed like there were a lot, so this should have been a big story. But there was nothing. At first, I found a few detailing some vague incident near the location of the police station, but after a few refreshes, they disappeared. Somebody was trying to hide this. I can't speculate what's really going on here, but maybe they know something that I don't. It's probably better for me that my face isn't plastered across every TV screen in every local diner, but this also begs even more questions. I'll try to explain the situation to Jack later. Maybe he'll believe me. Maybe he'll think I'm a fucking loon. But as for right now, I don't see a ton of options. My copy's probably searching for me right now. Okay, well, that was part 1 and 2 of that story. There is no other update to it, so hopefully we'll get something soon. So stay tuned, and as soon as I see something, I will be right back here to share with you guys. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell me how I did. Let me know what you want to see next. If there's any specific stories you want me to read or anything or talk about, just let me go. Or let me go. Let me know. And I'll see you next time.